Greetings. It has been a few days. I was away at a conference, but I am now back and ready to go on and on about my views. I like to plug YouTubers that I enjoy watching. They are much better than any of the lamestream media. So if you've not watched any of Lauren Chen is amazing. I want to talk about something she mentioned recently. File this under the insane, crazed, communist leftists of TikTok or whatever other socialist media. But it's not the first time I've heard this outrageous assertion, so no hyperbole intended. I want to talk about just how outrageous it is. The assertion that you cannot become a billionaire ethically. Now, it's really interesting the way that they specifically word that. They usually don't say that there's no moral way to do it because, well, they're communists, they're atheists, they don't believe in morals. They also don't believe in ethics, although they have completely redefined what is ethical to fit their standard in good Marxist dialectical fashion, and so this works for them. To say there is no ethical way to become a billionaire, always, all the time, these things are obviously recognizable fallacies. You cannot say that all black people are criminals, and you cannot say all white people are racist. You can't even say all politicians are corrupt. I mean, I might say that, I probably have, but it's hyperbole. We know that maybe there's somebody running for dog catcher in rural Alaska that has never taken or paid out bribe. But yeah, be that as it may, all can't really mean all the time. Human beings are not like that. There's nothing aside from a specifically referenced characteristic that works for. Like all redheads have red hair. All blue-eyed people have blue eyes. That's unless you're directly referencing the characteristic, you cannot ascribe that weird, bizarre generalization fallacy. So this, from the beginning, there's no ethical way to become a billionaire. Well, that's completely false. In fact, I would argue that the opposite is true. Being that I love free markets, I kind of shy away from the word capitalism. It's charged. I think it has a Marxist origin, actually. It was meant to be putative. In a free market system, it's impossible to be a billionaire without giving back to your community. You can't be a billionaire, and I'm going to phrase this carefully, you cannot even be a billionaire unless you are helping your fellow man. So not only is the assertion false that you must be unethical or immoral to be a billionaire, you can't be a billionaire without doing good, being part of good being done. If you're a billionaire, it generally means that you own stock, you own portions of corporations who employ people. Well, let's start at the bottom. Let's say you're a billionaire because you sold and you built yourself at home over $1 billion of something and sold them for $1 plus your cost of construction, and your profit on $1 each has now made you a billionaire. You have bought the materials to manufacture that from somewhere. If you didn't chop down the trees yourself or make the nuts and bolts yourself, from somewhere you have bought from a business that exists, that along which there is a supply line, that hundreds, dozens, locally a few dozen, all the way up to globally millions of people may be involved in the manufacture of. You have supported their job, you've supported that business, you have allowed them to have a job that puts some sort of food on the table. Even if we think they're not paid enough or it's inadequate, they're getting something because you have bought the material to make your product, to sell it, and now you're a billionaire having made it all yourself. At the very basic level, you just can't do that without giving back. Now, let's go the opposite extreme. You are born a trust fund baby into a multi-billion-dollar family. You party and you drink, and your stockbrokers and your team take care of everything for you, and you've never done a meaningful thing with your life. But you're the owner of that capital, and that money being invested as it is in stocks, bonds, holdings, in things which again support business, you may have anywhere from hundreds to billions of people that have benefited either from being employed by one of the companies you own stock in or receiving merchandise from that company. They might be the one that makes your favorite ice cream. They could make that high designer dog food that I feed my dogs. Anywhere along this spectrum, even the trust fund baby who is wasting their otherwise, unfettered existence, because the wealth exists, because of their family, because 15 generations ago, great-granddad worked his tail off, built a billion things in his house and sold it. Even though you might be useless in every other seeming regard, driving around in your Ferrari, being a party animal, the people you employ, your stockbrokers, your advisors, that probably the board, the people that are managing your money, they're making sure by that pressure that the businesses you invest in, by investing or not, or by having influence with the board at each corporation, they're making sure the company remains profitable, that it's doing what it's supposed to do, because that grows your wealth. Even if you are paying them to do it and you don't even understand it and you're running around partying, the wealth itself in the business realm is creating jobs, supporting families, and the management of that wisely is what's keeping those businesses solvent so that people continue to have jobs. There's nothing that gets from one place to another without being supported by all these people in between who have jobs and are making a living in their corner of the world off producing this stuff. When we had the shutdown over COVID, I'm not allowed to say that word on YouTube. When we had the unknown virus of unknown origin thing happened, kind of, sort of, whatever it was, a lot of the leftists that I know online were like, everybody's so worried about the economy. They're not worried about people's lives. But the economy is life. It's how food gets from the field to your table. It's how clean water, if you live in the city, gets to your tap. People run those plants. Even the most automation you've got, people keep an eye on it to make sure you don't get too much bleach in your water or anything like that keep filtering out the cocaine. In Detroit, they got it down to like 1 part per million. Good times. There's along this, without the economy, everybody dies. Without the economy, you eventually starve. Everybody stays at home and does no work, we will all die. But because they think economy is something only right-wing Republicans care about, making money, and they don't understand what oikonomia is. They don't know how oikonomia applies to life. They're the people that think, I buy meat in the store, no animals were harmed. The level of ignorance of how the world operates is astonishing. Those people think you can't become a billionaire ethically. You stole from somebody, and yet those who would decry the unethicalness of being a billionaire are the same people who believe in stealing money from those who earned it to give it to people that did nothing, which is inherently immoral and unethical. So not only can you be a billionaire and be ethical and moral, you can't not be doing good for the world as a billionaire by the way that we define it, the way that we know it, the way we know how it works in the world. You would have to pile your billions in a basement and never invest them and never use them and never buy anything. Because even if you hoarded all that wealth and did not invest in corporations that produce things for people and jobs for people, and it was in a giant, huge mattress in your basement hidden, if you bought that Ferrari, you put people to work. If you bought a bottled water for 50 cents, you're contributing it into the economy. Yes, the economy, because it matters.